Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited and honored to be here today with Raenae. I actually met Miss Raenae at the Co-Starters event through SOAR, which started back in January. I can't believe it's already May. Uh,
I, Me either.
it's crazy. So I've known her since the beginning of this year, and she just truly inspires me. And I knew that this would be a great session to just spotlight her and just kind of pick her brain a little bit. But before I ask her a few questions, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Raenae. And after I'm finished, Raenae, you jump in and you share anything else you'd like, okay? But she is the president of Community Treatment and Tracking Solutions. CTTS is a technology centered company combining best practices in rehabilitation and compliance. Its uniqueness or unique and inexpensive smartphone app has achieved 100% employment and sobriety for graduates, which is so awesome and inspiring. And I want her to definitely share more about that. She said recently took second place in the Invest 606 competition. And if you're not familiar with that, it's accelerator for businesses in Eastern and Southeastern Kentucky. And so we're really proud of her because she worked hard and we got to hear her pitches. And I actually got to go to an event of hers and it was awesome. She did such a good job. She's so passionate. So I'm going to let her just take it over. Please fill in the gaps, anything I missed, and just tell us a little bit more about your story, Raenae.
Um, I'm from the London Corbin area. It's all really kind of the same to me. And I graduated from the University of Kentucky, and my background is social work and rehabilitation medicine. And even though that my background is social work, I ended up in a lot of corrections and law enforcement positions. So that put me in government. My entire work career until I started this business has been with in a government position. And when you work with the government your whole life, you really learn a lot about policies and procedures. And there's this old saying, that it used to be like it's good enough for government work. You could leave it on your desk and it'd still be there the next day, and you come back. Well, in working with people that are in crisis, and all the jobs that I've had working in government is people that are with substance abuse, mental health, been institutionalized for a long period of time. There was a time I was a federal probation officer, and my job was to work with individuals who'd been incarcerated a minimum of 15 years. Wow. And I'd worked with people who'd been incarcerated for 30 years. And it's like being a kindergarten teacher for people who are coming out to learn life skills. How do you go from being institutionalized to actually being productive? Mm-hmm. So what being on one side of lock people up, this is what their experience is, gave me a lot of insight into what would I do if I had a magic wand with some of the solutions. I lived in Maine for a long time, worked a lot of jobs in Maine, and that's where I did federal probation. And I had some tragic circumstances in life that brought me back to Kentucky. I had a stepson who had substance abuse problems late in life, very, very unexpected. And so he came from, a family with a lot of support, resources, and it was unusual that he developed an inhalant addiction late in life and passed away tragically. And, that situation can either move you to feel defeated by what you've worked with helping people, or it can inspire you to think, how can I help this from happening to someone else. So I want to say that moving back to Kentucky, Jamie Mosley gave me an opportunity to work in the Laurel County Detention Center. And Jamie Mosley allowed me the opportunity to help people. My position there was to help people that needed treatment. And there, a lot of ideas, started coming about. And I was seeing what was not working with treatment, and people were leaving and coming back. And that's where the idea came about. Well, if I could pair treatment and tracking, then I can contribute to better outcomes. So I started researching and found a company in Lexington, CoreSoft, that actually had some products that were not perfect, but was close to what I wanted. And after a year of working with them, they had an app that sat on a shelf that they weren't using. And so with creating intellectual property content that went into the app, I kept saying, well, what if we added this? What if we did that? And it was very much a creative process. And they have their electronic equipment for tracking people was a small tether with a smartphone. So we said, hey, how about we pair the features of the app into the smartphone and add we just kept adding more features. And, I learned that that feeling of what it is that when you're on the high dive for the first time, are you really going to jump, or are you going to go back down the ladder? And with having government jobs my whole life and that security, I was at that moment. I was on the end of the diving board. Am I going to jump, or am I going to go back down the ladder? And I was so much into the creative process. I literally took my entire savings from where I worked in Maine and bought into this company. I bought the licensing rights. I paid for the intellectual property to be added, and developed a true partnership with CoreSoft, who is they're worldwide, and they're here, in Kentucky, and they believed in what I was doing. So CTTS, we're the only private business who has a partnership with this company that they have all government contracts. So with somebody was stepping on my alarm here. Anyway, so because what we've created is what's called alternatives and rehabilitation. And so they provide a lot of support for us because we're in Eastern Kentucky. They're a Kentucky company. And this partnership really shows what an established corporation can do to help a small business. And I can't say enough good things about them. So once that we got the product developed, where that we have cognitive behavioral therapy, telemedicine, which is, meets all the requirements of being a telemedicine app. So, for example, that we have a supervisor's app, and then we have a participant app. The supervisor and the participant can meet face to face on that same video within that same structure. And it can be a clinician meeting with a participant. It can be peer support meeting with someone. uh, so that everything stays within the app. It's really powerful and flexible because the way that the app is designed is that we can design it to meet any organization, a doctor's office that wants to use it. We have attorneys who use this to give to their clients to make sure their clients are doing what they're supposed to do. So from a dashboard, you can look and see, hey, are these people going to these meetings? Because it's got facial recognition. You take a selfie, GPS points to where you're supposed to be. And anytime that your new technology coming into a market that already exists, sort of what the old standard practice was, is people call it, it's home incarceration. You go to jail or you go to court, you get a final sentence of, okay, you got to do 60 days on this bracelet, or if you're coming out of jail, you can only come out on a bracelet. And some people in the industry call that dog pounding. Basically, you're like a dog on a tether, and your house is your dog pound. But we're changing what we're doing by calling it REM, rehabilitation electronic monitoring, because the app alone or the smartphone with a tether is not enough. It's the pairing of the services that go behind that phone and that app. So by having the face to face, having the accountability of the check-ins, of having the randomization of the those check-ins, having the randomization of this cognitive behavioral therapy models, it it helps that person's being engaged. To give some success stories, because the outcomes sometimes say more about what the product does than if I sit here and told you all day what the product is. Sure. But the outcomes, for example, we had a lady that had never really had interacted with the criminal justice system at all. She was in her 60s. She was a very active alcoholic, and it was catching up with her, and her whole family was falling apart. Her husband had filed for divorce. Her and her daughter were on the outs. She wasn't allowed to see her grandkids, and she'd gotten a DUI and had some other troubles. And through the use of the app, and we were able to work with her and provide services that just last week, her case got dismissed. 10 months of recovery that she had never had before, in 30 some years, not had 10 months of not drinking alcohol, repaired a relationship with her daughter, reconciled with her husband of decades, where, so that outcome shows that with the services she was receiving, utilizing the app, gave her connection, gave her support, gave her resources, and that she interacted with it on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. She's ready to film our first commercial for us. She's awesome. So excited. Another outcome that it was, some people would call it an unintended consequence, but it's a unintended benefit, is because as we randomize those facial recognition selfies, as you know, some people would better understand it, with the that GPS locates where they're at. We were able to catch 4 different women that had horrible bruising on their faces and were victims of domestic violence because it was randomized. They didn't have time to put makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
So when they never know when the request is going to come up, and they have a short window to take that, and you catch it, then it's a talking point, so that when that clinician is looking at that, because it comes up, it's the verification, the GPS, and the questions that they were sent to answer. And when you have to make sure that it's valid, and you see that, it gives you talking points for what's going on in that person's life. I could go on and on and on about how that, these outcomes are, every person is valuable and every outcome is significant. And right now, we're utilizing both the app and the smartphone in the Tri-County area, in the court systems. We're in Russell County, and we're getting ready to move into some other counties. And we have contracts with other businesses that are utilizing the app for the benefit of their clients. Doctors that are medication-assisted treatment prescribers are using this for their clients to make sure that they are attending their counseling and that they're getting feedback. One of the questionnaires was designed by a addictionologist about what their symptoms are, how they're taking their medication. And one of the features that we're adding is we will have a Bluetooth device that will pair with the app, that will work with the randomizer, that Bluetooth device will be a breathalyzer. So as we're getting more and more clients who have alcohol related issues, then that breathalyzer, they'll never know when it's going to come up, and we get the immediate results. It helps with accountability. It helps them to build strength in their sobriety as a support, because they know it's going to be immediately reported.
Right.
And, I want to say that, with putting my life savings into this, I have real skin in the game. Mm-hmm. That was the point when buying into CoreSoft and partnering with them with the amount of money that it took to get into this business, that's when I jumped off the high dive. Right. And I can say that when you're used to security and not living your life based on, it's like being a hunter. You eat what you kill, and you better be a good hunter. If not, you're going to go hungry. Mm-hmm. And so with having so much experience in government, but not business, I applied for the Invest 606. And by joining the 606 and becoming a finalist, I was required to do 300 hours of face-to-face mentoring, coaching, education, learning about business, to show how that the baseline of what my business was when I started, and then how it changed over the 6 months, led me to SOAR, uh, led me to working with Kentucky Highlands. I started receiving support, guidance, and mentorship from these different organizations that not only helped me understand my business plan, but how to adjust it. And it opened many, many doors for me. For example, I have to, give a big shout out to Kentucky Highlands, where in working with them for the Main Street program through GoDaddy, I had to do a lot of work. There's nothing out there that is free. So to get a website, so we got a website that is fantastic, but you had to go through this, GoDaddy makes sure that you're invested before that they're going to invest in you. And so I got a website, which led to an even more committed relationship from Kentucky Highlands, that we got paired with this digital navigator grant, where that we were getting smartphones, data plans, and tablets to help those that were coming directly out of jail that didn't have them, to put the app on, to make sure from day one that they had immediate access to treatment, that they were getting scheduled for their intakes, that they were starting IOP, working on solving their DUI problems, mental health, so on. Whatever their need was, we had a resource there to pair them with it.
That is amazing. I love this. I love this whole story about how this started, and I can totally see your passion, Raenae, and what you're doing for people is amazing. I heard a definition yesterday of an entrepreneur that it made me think of what you were talking about, the high dive, right? So it was an entrepreneur is someone who's willing to take risk to serve and impact others. And when you were talking about the high dive, it just made me think of that, because taking risk is so important. So if there's someone out there that you could speak to right now and just say, if you're thinking about starting a business, but you're afraid of the risk, what would you say to that person?
If you're not feeling afraid, then you will be afraid.
Right.
Because I felt afraid every step of this. The deck was stacked against me. I was new technology. I was at a price point that was beating the competition, so it was a big threat. So there was a lot of people that didn't want me to start my business, but I was committed. Commitment and effort. It's easy when you know that when your business is like, you're like a hunter. You got to get up early. You got to know how to scout everything out. You got to know where to be at the right place at the right time. And you got to be the first one there and the last one to leave. And I'd heard that a lot. And it's true. And assembling people around you that have the same commitment is very important. Your team, because when you're all wearing the same jersey, you all want to win.
Right.
And I definitely have to say that every day I gotta have a where are we in our relationship talk with God too about it, because you gotta have a lot of faith, and that, you know, every time, like this week, like I'm so excited about this most recent outcome. You know, it's all walks of life too, and it's, you know, with that particular client, she's not what somebody would think would, due to her age and lack of previous criminal history, or really having to be held accountable for her alcohol use. No one would think that that would be someone that would benefit from this product,
Right.
but it shows that she benefited greatly. And then there's, you know, the guy that has been in a lot of my uh, media, and it's on my website, JT. You know, JT is a very important part of my success because he was our first tester, and taking him from sitting in jail as a state inmate to helping him get shock probation to getting into a sober living house and getting drug court. He went from that he would have been a convicted felon to now he's graduated drug court, not a convicted felon, and
All right. So I wanted you to, finish your story about JT. And then also, we were just discussing, the dignity that this provides rather than the old methods that were used in the past. And just kind of talk to us about, the differences and then what your participants are seeing and how it makes them feel knowing they don't have to wear this clunky thing around their ankle.
well, to quickly sum up with JT, uh, you know, JT is successful and he's still utilizing the app. And so he's been using it for 2 years now. And he's using it to help manage where his employees are because he's in the concrete business, and he's booked out until November at this point. And so it goes to show that when you give someone a second chance, that they can actually help create to other opportunities in the community. I'm very, very proud of JT. Very proud. When you can say that you employ 8 people and you're contributing back, and he drug tests his own employees on a weekly basis. He's proud of his new position in life very much. So, but to, you know, to show like this right here is what the technology is that we call this a brick. And as you can see, it's very hard here. It's big and it's got like this speaker on it. And that's how that people will communicate with you. They'll just, their voice will just come out, and it's very heavy. It's like a kettlebell. And what we do is we have this smartphone, which is a verified protected network. It is locked down to where we control the phone, but they can use the phone and other features on it, like a regular phone, text messaging, email, those sort of things. And it tethers with this. So this is very small. And once that you fit it to a person, it actually has fiber optic lines in it. And this pairs with the phone, and you can disguise this, you know, it'll fit under a sock well. It's very light. This twists and moves, and it gives them more dignity. So people, we have 100% employment of people that graduate from our services that once that they've graduated, some before they even graduate go to employment. Others that we get that say that come out of jail, also research shows that if you're arrested on a misdemeanor charge and if you're not released from custody within 72 hours, that your chances go up of losing your employment and losing everything that you have. It's a snowball effect. So, this is sort of a little bit of bail reform too. So when you can go to the jail and hook someone up on something that is small and a phone, they can go back to work without this being an intrusion into their life and actually becoming a resource and a lifeline to help them. A lot of times we get people who on a first time charge, they're scared to death. They're scared that their employer will feel like that if they had to wear something that was that big on their leg and everyone else could see it, that they wouldn't want that person working for them anymore. So we've been able to save a lot of jobs and a lot of families to be able to, stay together. So this is, it's a phone. Who would know that when someone's interacting with this phone, it's a part of their rehabilitation electronic monitoring, and it's got their push notifications on it. They can attend their court session via this. They can interact with their attorney, their clinicians, and with the GPS tracking, the facial recognition, we know that it's them.
That's awesome. Yeah, it does provide a lot more dignity. And I had went to some prison ministries in the past, and the one thing that I saw over and over was that sense of hopelessness. Like nobody's ever gonna, hire me when I get out of here. I've messed up too much. And I feel like this is just another resource for them to just step into hope, and just think that when I get out of prison that or jail that I actually do have a shot. So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. I love it so much.
I have one more story to tell, and
Absolutely.
I love this. This is the $3 story where uh, we were in Whitley County Court, and Judge Fred White, he had this young guy who was about 23, 24 years old in front of him, and he was in custody, and he was getting ready to sentence him to a year as a county inmate because he'd had so many public intoxication charges, and he was supposed to go to so many AA meetings and provide proof, and he didn't. And of course, he was in custody because he was yet again arrested because he was intoxicated on a moped, try to outrun the Williamsburg police and wrecked, and the police won, and he had road rash on him from head to toe. And Fred White decided to give him an opportunity, one last chance, and he gave them to me right there in court. And that meant that he had to have a smartphone, and we put the app on it, and he got out, and we worked with him, set him up with his AA meetings, and got him involved in a lot of services. He was doing great. Came time for the second month, which was, the app is $1 a day, so it's $30 a month, and he owed. It was time for him to pay for his own stay out, and he called me up and he said, Miss Raenae, he's like, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to go get drunk. I'm going to tie a good one on. He said, because you're going to violate me. I was like, yeah, I'll violate you if you go out and get drunk. And he's like, no, he said, because I don't have $30 to pay you. And said, hold up. I mean, like, let's talk about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up before you've had a chance to problem solve this. And I said, how much money do you have? And he said, I have $13 and I don't get paid till Friday. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. You keep 10, you pay me 3, and you pay the rest on Friday. And I really believe by him investing $3 in himself, that instead of me saying that's okay, that $3 was his investment of him. If he's paying for it, he wants his money's worth because he wanted to stay out of jail. So the what we call the $3 story turned into he made it. He made it another month. And then he reached out to us for help, that he needed a place to live. We got him in a sober living house, got him a better job. So 2 years later, he went from, he was getting ready to be a drain on the Whitley County Fiscal Court, 360 days with no treatment, just sitting there, to paying for his own app, getting into sober living, getting a better job, getting a vehicle, moving out of the sober living house, and maintains his sobriety, has not interacted with the criminal justice since then, and can continue to stay on the app. So the $3 story turned into a much bigger return to the Whitley County Fiscal Court.
Absolutely. And it's like you said earlier, when you have skin in the game, it means a little more, right?
Right. When people are paying for this, they want their money's worth.
Right.
I have some clients that hold me way more accountable to them, where if they're seeking permission, and if I'm going to be a little lenient on them, they hold me accountable sometimes and say, nope, I'm not leaving here until you approve it. Because they depend on that accountability for their structure.
Sure. Yeah. And that's what we all need, is a little accountability sometimes, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, just real quick before we hop off, I thank you so much for this time. I'm praying that the other video saved, but if it didn't, I just want you to maybe give us just a couple of sentences and just talk to the people who may be wanting to start a business, or they are already in it and they just are stuck and they just don't know what to do. What advice would you give to that person?
Do research. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid to hold back on making a commitment, because sometimes there is a better option down the road. If I could say that every time that I got upset when something didn't work out, because I thought that was what I was going to make a difference in my business, it really was that there was a better option for me down the road. I just couldn't see it. The Lord has saved me from myself many, many, many times from making, decisions too quickly.
Right. Absolutely.
And please get a business mentor, somebody that's invested in you and your success, and that will be willing to tell you the hard things that nobody else wants to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it probably helps if it's not someone you're really close to, like a family member.
Right.
Sometimes that feedback is a little tougher to swallow when you're getting that from like a spouse or a friend. So maybe somebody that's a little further along than you in the process.
Very much.
Well, Raenae, I'm so thankful for this time with you. It was good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a while. So, thank you for all that you're doing for this area. I know that you're impacting lives every day, and I can't wait to see more of what you accomplish. So, I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for everything in SOAR. And I look forward to many, many more opportunities for our paths to cross.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And we will get this out to you guys as soon as possible. We hope you have a wonderful day, Raenae.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye bye.